Again and good morning in IT Delhi. In today's session, we are going to see and learn a very new and which is rapidly becoming popular in the research community for optimizing functions and to fulfill their optimization needs. It is artificial electric field algorithm. This work we did somewhere around in 2017, and in this session we will see what are the aspects of this particular algorithm and what was the inspiration to design this scheme, how it works, what formulation we did, and what are the applications so far uh, we have accomplished, and many people across the globe also using this algorithm for their applications. So let's begin. So in the last lecture, we already discussed about swarm intelligence techniques, particularly and very precisely. We learn about particle swarm optimization, and we got to know in very detail about how we can understand the population-based search techniques. Nowadays, these techniques are very popular, and people are using it in artificial intelligence, in data analytics, and many more applications are in the pipeline, and it's quite a popular field nowadays. So if we classify these algorithms, so majorly they fall into two categories. If we talk about stochastic optimization algorithms, not I'm removing and not discussing about the classical optimization techniques, which are deterministic. Deterministic means for which we have a proof that if a particular problem is applicable for a given scheme, and it is proven that it will achieve its global optimal solution, then it's a deterministic technique, means it is determined to get the solution. And non-deterministic are those who do not guarantee, but the statistics and the uses have shown enough evidences that these non-deterministic techniques are able to tackle many challenging problems, specifically if we talk about NP hard problems. So we will be focusing only non-deterministic, because whatever I discussed in the last lecture, it was also a non-deterministic optimization technique. Today itself, what we'll see and learn, it is also a non-deterministic optimization technique. So in non-deterministic, we can see two kinds of classification. Researchers across the group have come up with different classification, but personally what I feel, majorly we can divide into two classification. One is evolutionary algorithms and another is swarm intelligence. In evolutionary algorithm, we have examples of like genetic algorithm, genetic programming, and all those things which have been proposed in 1960s and 1970s. And swarm intelligence techniques are like particle swarm optimization, and this artificial bee colony, and the one which we are going to discuss, artificial electric field algorithm. These are swarm intelligence based schemes. So before I proceed, let's take a very quick review about very fundamental concepts of optimization which one has to understand before proceeding. Optimization, it is an action of making the best or most effective use of a situation or resources. Optimization requires the representation of the problem in a mathematical model where the decision variables are the parameters of the problem. So before proceeding and using any optimization algorithm, we had to be very clear that first it has to get a modeled optimization problem, means you should have a very good idea about the problem modeling, and the modeling has to be completed. And when I say the modeling prospect, then you should be able to know what are the objectives if it is a single objective, and if there are more than one objectives, then it will be a multi-objective. And then what are the decision variables, sometimes we call them parameters as well, are involved in that particular problem, and what are the features of those decision variables. So problem has to be defined well in a good shape before using any optimization algorithm. Then optimization approaches gradient based. These are the classical methods where we require certain aspects of the function which we are optimizing, like we should have its differentiation, or means its differentiability. Sometimes total differentiability and sometimes partial differentiation will be required for using those techniques, and these are quite a popular techniques as well in machine learning. Still people use them, but since they have their own limitations, because whenever it will come up with a uh, very very challenging problems, like where we are not very sure about the calculus aspect of the function, then they are not appropriate to use. So then the next comes the derivative free, which we call as a heuristic search, or if it can be applied to any class of problem, then it is a meta heuristic. So they are also they called as a derivative free because for using these algorithms we do not need any much idea about the calculus oriented things. Like if the function is not differentiable, it is not a problem. What we need, we only need a definition of the function and its functional value. That would be enough for the use of these heuristic methods. And then stochastic approaches, I already classify them in evolutionary algorithms. The examples are genetic algorithm, evolutionary programming, evolutionary strategy, genetic programming, differential evolution, and swarm intelligence, ACO and colony optimization, particles optimization, artificial bee colony, and the one which we'll discuss, artificial electric field algorithm. In stochastic based methods, in the last lecture, in a length we discussed about population based algorithm, but we have a single agent based algorithms as well, like Newton-Raphson method. In stochastic methods, uh, such as simulated annealing and taboo search methods. This is the kind of diagram of evolutionary algorithms which have been proposed long back in 1962 by Holland, and from that date to till date there has been a lot of research carried out, and many more modifications, more competent algorithms have been proposed by the researchers, and the community is still getting rich and richer. Swarm intelligence, as I said, swarm intelligence, as I said, is a study of the collective behavior of systems composed of many individuals interacting locally with each other and with their environment. And these agents follow some simple rules, although they are not centralized control structure dictating them how individual agents should behave. And social interaction is the main theme for these swarm intelligence techniques. So these are basically the key things for any swarm or population based optimization algorithms. The way you design the social interaction, the way you design their updating process, it actually leads to a particular scheme. And few accomplishments of SI, it is able to accomplish difficult tasks in dynamic environments without any external guidance or control, with no central coordination. And in literature, we have seen that there have been significant evidences when classical optimization algorithms are not able to get uh, desired solution, but these swarm based schemes have accomplished good quality result and solved many challenging and difficult problems. So this is one more aspect of how one can create and design a swarm based scheme. I believe we had enough discussion on the fundamentals of this swarm intelligence and population based techniques. So I am skipping these things. So this is a video which I wanted to show, which actually shows the true nature of any swarm based algorithm. So it flocks in the search environment like this, and there the way it has been designed, their movement will be governed by those equations, and this is the landscape and movement environment of any swarm based algorithm. It moves from one place to another place like birds flock and tries to discover or point of interest. So this doesn't uh, belong to any particular population based search scheme. This is the general phenomenon and working procedure for any population based scheme. Then when I come to optimization problem, for optimizing, you should first have an objective function. Uh, it it may have one variable or more than one variable. If it's a one variable, then it's a single variable problem. If it is a more than one variable, then it's a multivariate problem. And then uh, you should be able to figure out what are the lower bounds and upper bounds for decision variables, which are presented here as x1, x2, xm. And if the problem is in this format only, then it is an unconstant optimization problem. If there are some constant as well, which involves equations in or inequalities in xi's, then it will be a constant optimization problem. So if we are maximizing, then we must be interesting in x star, and x star will be a global optimum if f of x star is greater than or equal to fx for every x in the domain where we are looking for the solution. And if we are looking for minimization, then x star will be the global optimum if f of x star is less than or equal to fx for all x in the domain of the function where or in the search region. Then decision variable, they may be 1, 2 or 3. Depending on that, it will define the that particular environment. In a 2D, it will be a plane like thing, and you might have solved linear programming problem in two variable. So that is the case where we have only two variable, and in a planar system we can see them. And when we have more than two variable, then it's a it enhanced into multi-dimensional structure. And if it is a three-dimensional, then it is the enhancement of that plane into 3D space. So basically what we will be looking the optimal values of x1 and x2 for which the objective function value is minimum or maximum, depending on whether we are minimizing or maximizing. Then when it comes to search space is the place or region where we are looking for our point of interest. Point of interest means it could be a maxima or minima. So as I already explained, in a two variable system, it will be a piece of plane, and that piece of plane will be the search region. And if it is a 3D system, then it will be a 3D space, and it is not limited to only three variables as well. We can have a multi-dimensional structure which will create the search space. If it is more than three variables, then it can be called as a hyperspace. Then it comes to objective function. In this slide, you can say this function we already used in the last lecture for figuring out how we are looking for its maxima or minima using PSO. So this is how we should understand objective function. Then local optimum, global optimum, and suboptimum. These are the points which are our point of interest. Local and global. Local optimum are the points which are suboptimal points in a localized region. Global optimum is the least functional value or the most highest functional value, that is maxima or minima, in a given region. Means there should not be any point less than that, and there should not be any point greater than that. That would be the global maxima or minima. So before understanding the architecture of this artificial electric field algorithm, we would like to understand how this population behaves. So in a search region, as we understood these things in PSO, we need to create certain members. Those members will be called as a candidate solutions, and we have to develop a mechanism so that these candidate solutions can move from one place to another place in the defined search region in order to move towards the point of interest. That point of interest could be maxima or minima. So this is how we should understand a candidate solution. In PSO, we call them as a particle. In artificial electric field algorithm, we are going to call them as a charge or charged particle. So this is the general form of the population based heuristic search algorithm. Means how it moves from initial phase to the last phase. It at t equals to 1 means that at initial phase we need to create the population, means randomly create the candidate solutions, and then you need to apply some operators and recursively keep on doing the application of those operators on the population. And in this way, in each and every iteration, these operators will help to move these candidate solutions from one place to another place. And in this way, when you reach to maximum number of iterations, or when you meet with the stopping criterion, this whole framework of population should look like this. And this clustered point will be the location where our point of interest is lying. So this is the ideal phenomenon of any population based search algorithm. If it is defined and designed for any specific purpose, then it will be a heuristic search algorithm. If it can be applied for various types of objectives, then it will be called as a meta-heuristic optimization algorithm or meta-heuristic search algorithm. So this is the general framework, general criterion for any population-based meta-heuristic or heuristic algorithm. This is again the general framework in a flow chart. You need to initialize the initial population, then evaluate them, and what evaluation and operators you are using, that would be a particular method. For example, in PSO, we were calculating the personal best, global best, we were evaluating the velocity, and then we were updating the positions. So these all personal best, global best, evaluation of velocity and updation, they are basically the operators in PSO. So in different population based search algorithm, we come up with different operators, but the overall structure of this heuristic search algorithm or population based schemes actually follows this structure. Then there are two phases. We had a bit discussion in last lecture as well. That is exploration and exploitation. Exploration means how much the scheme is capable to explore the given search region. And exploitation is the situation when most of the iterations are already executed, and now we do not want to explore the search region more and more, but we wanted to settle down so that we can improve the quality of the solution. So we can understand the ideal role of exploration and exploitation by these curves. This red one is the exploration and the other one is the exploitation. So this graph is against the number of iterations. So whatever population based scheme is, its architecture, if we try to divide it between exploration and exploitation, it should look like this. This is the balanced structure of exploration and exploitation. At the initial phase, the exploration is very high and exploitation is very less, very small or less. The reason is at the initial phase of the scheme, what one would like to expect that the scheme should be in such a way it should be able to explore more and more to the search region so that it can try to figure out all possible localized areas of the search region which are supposed to be explored. So that is why at the initial phase it is very high, and at the initial phase exploitation is not very much required. So it has to be low because first we would like to get that localized region where our point of interest is lying. At the later stage, when we have suppose more than half of the iterations are already consumed, then we would like to decrease the exploration ability of optimization scheme because after consuming that number of iterations, now we would like to explore more and more that localized region only. It's not like it should keep on exploring entire region all the time, then it will not converge or locate our point of interest. At the same time, the exploitation should be high, means we have got the localized region. Now that localized region has to be exploited in such a way that if we have got to know that the point of interest is lying in that region, then it should be able to exploit it and get that point of interest. So this is the ideal nature for any population based search scheme and balanced between exploration and exploitation. Now we'll come to the artificial electric field algorithm, and it is published in Swarm and Evolutionary Computation, which is a very high repute journal, and I believe it got a very good impact factor around 6 or 7. I'm not sure because in the last month all the impact factors are updated. So we'll try to learn what are the inspirations for developing this scheme. Uh, it is also a nature inspired algorithm. So what inspiration we took from nature to design this scheme and how we implemented, what are the performance measures of this algorithm, which we tested on several real life problems and benchmark problems, and how it has been successfully applied in an application like graph matching, where we basically match two images using this artificial electric field algorithm. And then I will try to explain its implementation on MATLAB platform. Yesterday I already shared its code with Dr. Vivek. I hope you must have received it. So I request you all to keep it already downloaded. So I'll explain one by one patch and fragments in the code so that you can understand, and if you wanted to use it, it would be handy for you to use and utilize. So let's just get started. So first we'll focus on design of this IFA, artificial electric field algorithm, that how we designed and what are the features of this scheme. So basically it is inspired from Coulomb's law of electrostatic, uh, which states that like charged particles repel each other and unlike charged particles attract each other. We all have studied and learned this rule during our in our +2 or high school physics classes. So in mathematical expression, what it says, if suppose there are two charges Q1 and Q2, so they repel each other and attract each other depending on what charge sign they are carrying. If they are of same charge type, for example positive charge, then they will repel, and if they are opposite, then they will attract. And this force of repulsion or attraction can be calculated by this formula, that is k q1 q2 upon r square, where q1 q2 are the charge sorry, Q1, Q2 are the charge values, and R is the Euclidean distance between these two charges, and K is the Coulomb's constant. So the basic source of inspiration is because when two individual charges either they attract each other or repel each other, what will happen? They will push or attract one of them. So these charged particles we assumed as a candidate solution, and we tried to define an artificial charge value for these charged particles, which are actually candidate solutions for this scheme. And then we designed an artificial formula as well for Coulomb's constant. And then we tried to come up with a concept that if we can artificially create a charge like system, and we try to repel or attract individual candidate solutions by calculating the force of attraction or force of repulsion, then they will try to move from one place to another place. This mobilization strategy is used to actually locate and move these candidate solutions from one place to another place and ultimately to our point of interest. So let's see how we have designed and come up with the idea of this artificial electric field algorithm. So the inspiration I already told, Coulomb's law, the electrostatic force between two charged objects is directly proportional to the product of their charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. The formula I already shared with you, K, Q and Q2 over R square, where F is the magnitude of electrostatic force, Q and Q2 are the charges, R is the distance between two charges, and K is the Coulomb's constant. So this is the physics theory, and now we'll switch how artificially we created an environment and utilize this repulsion and attraction scheme to come up with a good optimization scheme. So these are the features and design theme of this artificial electric field algorithm. It is also a population based optimization algorithm. The inspiration is already I explained, the Coulomb's law of electrostatic force that defines repulsion and attraction. Here the agents or particles or candidate solutions, we have called them as a charged particles. The charges are defined as fitness function of the candidate solution and the fitness of the population. So this is the important aspect which we should spend a minute to understand. In reality, in physics, the charges are the usual charges which we have studied in our physics classes. But here, since we are going to optimize a function, so what we did, we artificially created charges and we made those charges as a function of fitness value of the candidate solutions, so that it should come into a synchronization and it should create an environment which would like to minimize or maximize the function. So this is the important aspect to understand. The charges are defined as a fitness function of the candidate solution. What that function is, we'll see in the forthcoming slides. And the position of the charged particle corresponds to the solution of the problem. Means whatever location of that charged particle that will be stored in a particular variable, that is basically mathematically a vector or an array, that is actually the one of the candidate solution. And then charged particle with greatest at all other particles of lower charges. So it's a simple derivation and idea from physics that if there is a charged particle whose charge value is very high, then what will happen? It will attract unlike charged particles with more severity and repel with the same severity if they are a same charge type. These charged particles move in the search space due to this electrostatic force, which we will calculate using that Coulomb's force of attraction and repulsion. So basically what will happen when we'll assume entire population as a charged system, because every candidate solution which we are calling as a charged particle, will if we see them as a collectively, so what will happen, it will create a charged system, and that charge system will create an electrostatic force. We will calculate that force, and that electrostatic force will actually be the governing force for moving these candidate solutions from one place to another place. Let's see how it is happening. So this is just a representation of how our typical charged particle system would we have. So I have taken uh, 5 charged particles. So when I'm saying charged particles, its literal meaning is a candidate solution. So Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, they are represented with the circles. So these circles are basically smaller and bigger. So the smaller means it has a less charged value, and the higher means it has a higher charged value. So the idea is, if for example, if you observe Q2, Q2 is the highest radius circle among all these charged particles. So we are anticipating that it is having the highest charged particle. So what it will do, it will attract or repel Q1, Q3, Q4, Q5 depending on what sign of charge these Q1, Q3, Q4 and Q5 are carrying. So in this way, what will happen? Q2 will try it. So for example, suppose this Q2 is positive and rest of them Q1, Q3, Q5, Q4, they are negative. So this Q2 will attract rest of them. And similarly, Q1 will have some charge value. It is less than Q2, but it has significant. So same kind of uh, attraction or repulsion force will be applied by Q1 on rest Q5, Q3, Q2 and Q4. And same thing will be happening with Q3, Q2, Q1, Q5, Q4 individually. So ultimately what will happen? Uh, a class of electrostatic forces will be created depending on what amount of charge is actually one candidate solution is carrying. If it is very high, it will try to attract. If it is low, it will try to it will have an impact, but it will not have that much of impact. So in this whole synchronization, what is the takeaway? That every candidate solution is either attracting or repelling rest of the candidate solutions. What is the impact? That will totally depend on what amount of charge that particular candidate solution is carrying. So what we would like to see in this algorithm, so that it can actually lead us to our point of interest. So we would always like to get a candidate solution with a higher charge, and it should be at a good location. And when it will be designed in this way, so what will happen, we only need to trace back towards those charged particles which are having the higher charge value, and they will also be keep on moving because they also are getting an influence of electrostatic force of other charged particles. So this is the overall philosophy of this, how we are getting an inspiration and anticipating that in this way the movement is going to be happen. So how these things are going to be applicable and they will work in reality. As the particle can attract every other particle of lower charge, this cause global movements or exploration. So this is going to be responsible for exploration ability. It will try to find as much wide search space as possible to avoid the local minimization. So it means what, at the initial phase, what we would like to have a more and more emphasis on this particular fact. Then it will provide us a greater amount of exploration ability. And parallelly at the same time, to keep the balance between exploration and exploitation, so that we can improve the localized region where we have got to understand that this is the place where the optimal solution is lying. We will make this particular influence more at a higher stake so that the switchover between exploration and exploitation could take over, and we should feel a higher level of exploitation. Obviously, as I already explained, the best solution is a solution with heavier charge. So these heavier charges will also keep on changing. So ultimately at the end of the experiment, we'd like to see where is the heaviest charge, and that heaviest charge would be the best solution provided by this particular scheme. So whatever so far we discussed, it was the philosophical approach how we are going to do, and what we are anticipating and expecting to get as an output. Now we'll step by step try to learn how this algorithm will come into force, and we can code it and implement it to see how this is working in reality. We try to minimize any function, minimize or maximize. So in step one, we need to initialize certain parameters: Coulomb's constant, K naught, iteration counter, and alpha. These are the parameter values. We'll see how we can get these values, how we can initialize, and what are their suggested values. So we need to get these values ready at hand so that whenever we need these values, they should be available for ready use. Then in step 2, we are going to initialize the population. It is the same way as we did in the PSO, where we were generating the random solution between two lower bounds, or if it is a multi-dimensional environment, then the specific number of candidate solutions in the given search region. How we can generate it, we have already seen. You can follow the previous lecture. And then we have to, in step 3, we need to figure out certain variables in this scheme so that we can utilize it. So we are defining two things: best and worst. So for example, the problem which we are dealing is a minimization problem. So what we would like to see, then naturally the best value is the minimum value. So we are defining a variable best which will store the best value discovered so far in the particular population in a particular iteration. And worst value, obviously it will be the maximum value of the fitness function in a particular iteration among all the candidate solutions. So if you are if you are maximizing, then their role will be switched. In that case, best will be the maximum and worst will be the minimum. But this algorithm is written for minimization problem, which can be easily switched into maximization with no effort. I'll explain in the code how we can do that. So this is how we define the best and worst. Best of t, it means best at a time t. T is, you can simply understand with number of iteration. And then here comes the main formula which we have proposed, that artificial charge. Since we wanted to have this artificial charge as a function of the functional value, because this functional value is the information we can get from the function, so that we needed to utilize, and that is why we made this artificial charge as a function of functional value. And this is what, this is exponential of fitness of a particular candidate solution. For example, this charge is going to be calculated for each and every candidate solution. So for example, we wanted to calculate the charge of ith candidate solution. So here, this is how this formula will look like: exponential of fitness of that ith particle minus worst fitness value in the population divided by best fitness value minus worst fitness value. So this is the formula which is proposed to calculate the artificial charge using the fitness value. Then to avoid getting very higher charge value, we have normalized these charge values by using the normalization concept. And then we are going to use these charge values for movement of the candidate solutions as we have discussed lately. So these charge values are stored in an array with us. For example, if there are n number of candidate solutions, then there will be n charge values for each and every individual candidate solution. Then this is in step 5. This is how we are going to calculate the personal best fitness value of each particle. It's a same concept of personal best of PSO. So again here, when the population will move from one iteration to another iteration, what will happen? Every candidate solution will create a trajectory of solutions. So we need to only trace back what is the best candidate solution a candidate solution has discovered in its generation. That is going to be uh, identified by this arrangement, which is simply if the previous one is better than the current one, then previous one will be followed. Otherwise, we are going to choose the current one. It's simple. And then when we saw that Coulomb's formula, there was a Coulomb's constant as well. So we have proposed an artificial formula for Coulomb's constant as well, which we have made a function of iterations. So K naught is a parameter here for which we have suggested its numerical values in the main original article. We'll see here as well what are the best suggested values. And then it is K naught into exponential of minus alpha. Minus alpha is again a scaling factor which can be tuned for solving different types of problems, into ITER is the current iteration and max ITER is the total number of iterations defined in the scheme. So what will happen in every iteration? This Coulomb's constant have a different value, and if you carefully observe, so it is a decreasing function. It is exponential of minus alpha ITR upon max ITR, because ITR and max ITR, both of them are going to be always positive values because they are iterations. So it is a decreasing function, and in every iteration it is going to be calculated, and it will be used to calculate the force of attraction or repulsion between two charged particles or candidate solutions. So this is how this KT will be evaluated in every iteration. And now in step 7 we are going to calculate the force that would be exerted on any particle I by jth particle, and which would be Fijt, means the working force of attraction or repulsion between ith and jth candidate solution. This KT, we have the formula for KT, we can get it from equation 7, and then Qi is the ith charge value and Qj is the charge value of jth candidate solution. We already saw the formula for charge values, which is this one, Qit. From we can have this value from here, and then this Pij is the that personal best minus this general candidate solution divided by the Euclidean distance between the charged particles. Here we have added some positive tolerance value as well, because there may be a situation that two charged particles will coincide at the same position. Then their Euclidean distance will be 0. Then we won't be able to calculate this Fijt, because then it will in MATLAB it will give NaN, not a number. So to avoid that situation, that epsilon value, which is a very small value, has been chosen here to avoid that NaN situation. And once this Fij is calculated, to give it some chaotic nature, we have randomized it by multiplying with the rand function. So what will happen? It will multiply with a uniformly generated random number, which will be between 0 to 1. So it will give a fluctuation in the force that would be helpful to explore the region in a much better way. So once this K is with us, F is with us. So now what we are going to use, we are going to use one more physics formula, that is F equals to QE, force equals to charge into electric field. So F, and with the help of F and Q, we can calculate the electric field created by these artificial charge values, and that can be simply evaluated by taking the ratio of F and Q that you can see here. And once it is ready with us, then we are going to use the fundamental law of motion, that is F equals to ma. So if you carefully see here, so this is nothing but A equals to F upon m, and F is what? F equals to Q into E. So this F equals to QE is used here, A equals to F upon m. So with the help of this, what we are able to calculate, we are able to calculate when this entire electric field generated by artificial charge values will be in force, then what kind of acceleration come into the force in the entire candidate solutions. If I summarize in a more easy language, so we created an artificial charge. That artificial charge is defined for entire population or each and every candidate solution. So when we holistically see all the charged values, so it will create an electric field. And when that electric field will be applicable and in force, then that electric field will try to move those charged particles from one place to another place. And when their movement is going to happen, then there will be some acceleration. These acceleration we are calculated using this particular formula. And when we will know the acceleration of those candidate solutions, it means what we are knowing that in which direction they are going to move. And this acceleration component and influence we will be using for the mobilization of the charged particles. So this mobilization of the charged particles is going to happen by the influence of this accelerated value calculated in equation number 10. So once this acceleration is ready with us, then we'll use the same velocity and position update concept in PSO. There was a different velocity update equation which was depending on personal based and global based concept, but here this acceleration component is itself capable of doing all those things in which this P based and G based were doing in the case of PSO. So once this acceleration is calculated, we'll apply it to get the velocity value of each and every candidate solution, means charged particle, and then this charged particle system will be getting an updation using this equation 12, which is the position update equation. So this was the entire recipe for implementation of artificial electric field algorithm, and how we just got to know, and I explained it, how a simple inspiration has led us to creating this very efficient scheme, and very small aspects of these physical phenomenons has been utilized to create a very good mobilization strategy, so that those all candidate solutions can move from one place to another place and locate our point of interest. So all these steps we need to recursively repeat unless until we meet with the stopping criterion. So this was the complete explanation and elaboration of how this artificial electric field algorithm works and what are the mechanics and mathematics behind it. This is the flow chart which one can follow for general understanding of this artificial electric field algorithm. We need to randomly initialize the position of the particles, which are here charged particles, or you can say candidate solutions, and then evaluate their fitness values, then calculate KT best worst acceleration and force from the given formula, and then use them to get the velocity value and use that velocity value to update the position, and recursively keep on repeating all these steps unless until you meet with the stopping criterion. And when it will execute, finally it will provide the best solution given by the artificial electric field algorithm. So after learning how this scheme has been came into existence and its working mechanism, we would like to see how well this algorithm is doing, so that we can understand its its optimization ability and capability, so that it could be recommended for possible use of research community. So we basically perform varied level of uh, experiments to judge the optimization ability of this scheme. So at that time when this scheme was proposed, we utilized the latest available uh, widely accepted most difficult benchmark suit proposed in Congress of Evolutionary Computation, CEC, IEEE CEC 15, learning based benchmark suit, where we basically solved many problems which are classically available, but since these are very difficult to solve, so that's why we are it's worth to mention them and show how the performance of this scheme is. So this suit basically has uh, four types of functions: unimodal functions, simple multimodal functions, hybrid functions, and composition functions. So unimodal functions are those functions who have single global optimum, like sphere function, but still it is rotated and highly conditioned. Rotated means what? The proposers of this competition, IEEE CC 15, they proposed certain matrices which is multiplied with these functions in a multi-dimensional environment, so that it rotate and shift it, so that it becomes more difficult to locate its global optimum solution. So then the second class of function is simple multimodal functions, means the functions which has more than one global optimal solution or many local optimal solutions. And then hybrid functions are those functions which are basically the composition of unimodal function and multimodal function with different level of uh, composition. They are classified as n equals to 3, 4, 5, and then a different class of composition functions. So they were total in 15 functions, and they still till date they are one of the difficult benchmarks to if any algorithm is able to deal and solve this benchmark suit, then definitely there is certain level of capability in that particular algorithm. So their minimum values are also listed in this table, and the search range for this uh, all these problems is -100, 100 in a d-dimensional environment. So these are the landscape of all these functions, which I listed here so that one can observe the level of difficulty. Basically, if you see the function 3, 4, and 5 and function 6, so you can easily observe that there are plenty amount of local optima available in the function. Very sharp peaks and valleys are available, which makes these problems really very challenging for any optimization algorithm to locate its global optimal solution, because there is a great amount of chance that your scheme is going to be trapped in a suboptimal solution. So that is the main challenge. And these are the rest of the functions. These are the rest of the functions. Now, this is a video of the how the movement of particles happens over the number of iterations. We were solving a function whose global optima is somewhere between 20 to 40, and this is how the movement of the particles happen over the number of iterations. So we will see this one in a more detail when I'll discuss with the code of the scheme. So this was the again a similar simulation for different function. So this is how these charged particles are moving in the search region. So this is again same minus 100 comma 100 cross 2 environment. And then we perform many performance measures to understand the capability. These are the convergence plots of how quickly this scheme is locating the solution with different values of k naught. K naught is the constant which was involved in the calculation of gravitational Coulomb's constant, and this experiment was carried out so that we would be able to know that what is the suitable value of k naught. So those who are more interested, they should visit its article. It is having a more detail. And then to observe the exploration and exploitation ability of IFA, because in the previous in the initial phase of this session I explained the balance between exploration and exploitation, and I showed you the plot what should be the optimal and balanced structure so that this scheme or any population based scheme should do well, uh, is actually reflecting in these plots as well. So these uh, building like structure, they are actually the electric field values, or you can say the intensity. So at the initial level of iteration, the intensity is very high for different particles, but when the iterations keep on moving towards the end of the iterations, it actually decreases uniformly. And same thing is happens with the behavior of acceleration which we calculated. At the initial phase, the acceleration amount is very high, so it means what, it will give big jump to the candidate solutions, and when it will give the bigger jumps, it will explore more and more the given search region. And when you see when we are towards the end of the iteration, this impact of acceleration is quite low. It means what, now it will not give a bigger jump to the candidate solutions, and it will help them to exploit the nearby locations to get the more accurate value of the solution. It was tested and compared with the many competent algorithms, state of the art competent algorithms available at that time, like artificial bee colony, ant colony optimization, bibliography, PSO, ICM-LSP, dynamic FWA, and this particular version of differential evolution. And we did some non-parametric testing as well, and we ranked them. And on this benchmark suit CC15 with 30 dimensional environment, the performance of this IFA was outstanding and it got the first rank. This is the convergence plot of the same with the different values of k naught. This was the real-time simulation for a function which is having the global minimum at 0, 0. So you can simply see that in a very less amount of iterations, it is able to locate the global minima for this particular function. I believe this was a sphere function, unimodal sphere function. So those who wanted to use this algorithm is all implemented on MATLAB platform, and it is available for free to use, and it is uh, posted on MathWorks MATLAB Central. You can simply search artificial electric field algorithm MATLAB code. You will find its code from where you can download it. And I believe you already having this link with the from organizer of this event. So I'll take, before we go for the hands-on experience, I will take a very good application which we implemented using this artificial electric field algorithm, which was designed to handle the uh, high order graph matching. So basically what we did, we modeled a high order graph matching problem. We'll see what is high order graph matching problem. Uh, it is modeled as an optimization problem, and then we solve that optimization problem using the artificial electric field algorithm. To achieve this objective, we discretized, means the one which we explained and learned till now. It was designed for real values, means for continuous optimization problems. But since the matching requires discrete values, so we discretized it, and then it is utilized to solve this high order graph matching problem. It is also published in a very good journal, Applied Soft Computing, last year. So application of IFA in graph matching. So if I simply explain what is the graph matching. Graph matching is we would like to compare two graphs, that's it. But when the graphs are like planar graph, which we draw on paper with certain edges and nodes, it's and if there are nodes and edges significantly small, then matching them mathematically means we would like to create an isomorphism between from one graph to another graph. So, but if the number of edges and nodes are small, and I'm talking about the planar graphs, then I creating this isomorphism is sometimes easy if we have relatively small number of vertices and edges. But if the number of edges and vertices are very large, it becomes very challenging. And one of the example of graphs are images. And when we try to match those two images, it means mathematically we are trying to create an isomorphism from one image to another image. If we are trying to create an isomorphism from one image to another image, mathematically it is very expensive, because in an image we will have a millions of points and millions of features. So achieving that objective mathematically, how we understand isomorphism, is actually very challenging and very expensive. So that is why we come up with a different idea, so that we can choose certain feature points in one object and then try to match those objects from the another image. That is what we call graph matching. But when for example, if you see in this picture, there are two teddy bears. Both the teddy bears are same images, but in the one image it is in its original form. In the another image it is slightly scaled and rotated. So if we try to create an isomorphism between these two images, there should be a perfect isomorphism because both the images are same images. But to teach a machine so that it can learn and create a mapping from one image to another image, we need to create a very good efficient scheme. Then only it is going to be possible, because it's not going to be an easy task. The images are same, but they are scaled and switched. So for understanding by a machine that both the images are the same images, it may be a challenging task. So let's see how we accomplish this one. By using this artificial electric field algorithm. So this is how we can understand the high order graph matching. Means we are not only working with the planar graphs, we are working with images, and sometimes they may be a 3D objects. So graph matching, how we formulated it. Graph matching is a problem of finding the correspondence between the visual features such as points, raw pixels, or edges of two given graphs or images. High order graph matching is an extension of spectral matching and aims to find the correspondence between the tuples of nodes. Means the location is not in terms of x1 comma x2, it is like x1 x2 and so on. The graph matching is a problem of finding the matching from graph G1 to graph G2 and equivalent to find an assignment matrix P of size N1 cross N2. So basically, this high order graph matching, it needs a formulation which requires the understanding of tensors, because in a when we are discussing matrices in a higher dimensional environment, tensors are the tools to address and understand them. So if I keep it easy for understanding point of view, with the help of tensors, there is a score function designed. If the score function is higher up to a certain level, then that matching is concluded as a good matching, otherwise it's a bad matching. And this score is going to be calculated with the help of these tensors which are defined. So I'm not going into these details because it is itself a very vast area and it requires prerequisite to understand. So what we can take away and move forward, that there is a score function which is a function of tensor based matrices, and those matrices are going to calculate the score value, and that score value will be used to determine whether a particular matching is a good matching or bad matching. So this is the same formulation. Uh, then we discretized it for the possible use, because now.
Hello.
Yes.
So a question, sir. It's like I would like to know what will be dimensions of tensor for this problem which you have used.
Actually,
When you are
it depends.
calculating score, then what all we are having in dimensions, and
Dimensions,
how many order tensor you were taking for this?
actually, it's a variable. It depends which image you are taking for consideration, because if you have worked with the image processing, when you store images in the computer, so they are stored in a matrix format. So it depends which kind of image you are taking. If it's a grayscale image, it will have a different environment. If it is a colored image, then it will have a different environment. So depending on the input data from those images, it will automatically choose those dimensions for these tensors. Uh, Later on, in after few slides, we will see a few certain images we have taken. For those images, the amount of dimensions will be required on a computer to be
Yes.
stored for those images. Those are the dimensions of these tensors. So it will typically depend on what type of image you are taking.
So if I will take a image, even there are two ways. One is like I'm directly inputting image and whatever matrix may be related to RGB value is coming in form of matrix. One, I can take that. Another one is like if I will apply any IP library and it's generating any features, then that feature matrix also I can take.
Yeah, feature matrix also you can take, obviously.
Yes.
The
Yes.
only thing is this is a scaled kind of, this score function is a scaled kind of system. It's not like it is fixed for a particular dimension that it will take this dimension. It totally depends what kind of features you have taken for the comparison, because ultimately when you are comparing two images, basically what you will do, you will compare the features. You cannot compare the entire image.
Right.
So to store those features, whatever dimensions are required, it will automatically go for those dimensions. We'll
And when
see.
we are
We
getting
have
this,
taken some
yes.
sample data where you can understand it.
Okay, so thanks. Thank you.
Okay. So this is core function. This was the same slide. This was the motivation why IFA we have chosen for discretizing it. Then the main framework, basically this scheme, this particular work and scheme was much more focused over IFA, because that score function was not designed and developed in this particular work. That was already available. That is a tensor based scheme. The thing which is the merit of this particular work is how we can make artificial electric field algorithm to be capable, because in tensor based schemes, the researchers, those who are working in image processing and these graph matching kind of things, they use different optimization algorithms like gradient descent algorithm and all those which are popular in those areas. Here, the main focus was the replacement of those gradient descent algorithms, descent based algorithms and similar ideas with the artificial electric field algorithm. And for that, the first challenge was to develop a discrete version of artificial electric field algorithm. Like one of you just suggested that whenever you are taking a feature, so if I'm matching a feature from one image to another image, so it means what? When I'm trying to get a solution, so what would be the solution? Solution would be in terms of a matching. Matching means what? Permutation. Those who are aware with the permutation. So permutation is a discrete thing, means which mapping is mapped on which map. One is mapped on where, it's a simple permutation idea. So the original designed IFA was for continuous problems. So here, when we are looking forward to use this IFA for this graph matching environment, first we need to discretize it, because now the candidate solutions are not going to be any value. Their values are going to be the matchings, because we are looking for the optimal matching. The best optimal matching will be the result that will say that this is the matching between two images. So to synchronize this artificial electric field algorithm for the matching point of view, we would like to see our candidate solutions as a matchings. So for that, what we do, we change the representation of particle, and then like in any population based search algorithm, when you are updating the position of candidate solution, simply what we do, we add position and whatever position update equation is, but the values stored in the candidate solutions are real entries. Whatever you will add, it is going to be a feasible thing. But the moment your candidate solutions become matchings, then if you need to define what would be the criterion for summing two matchings, then only it will have some logical sense. Because once the candidate solutions are anticipated as a matchings, then the sum of matchings has to be defined, because they are no longer the sum of two vectors. Sum of two matching, it is going to be another matching. It should not be like something nonsense value. So those were the main challenges which were dealt and explained and addressed in this particular work. So for that, we defined how we can realize the addition and subtraction of the matchings, that or in more general way, how we can define the addition and subtraction operations for matchings. So this is the old framework of IFA. Here I would like to focus on a particular algorithm. Yeah, this is the main theme. So for understanding point of view, we have assumed two graphs, G1 and G2, and both are basically similar type of things, and we would like to create a matching like this, which is shown here in this particular thing. So there are going to be two things. Velocity is going to be calculated, but velocity will be in terms of matchings. You see, this is a permutation. One is mapped on one is mapped on two, 3 is mapped on 2, 4 is mapped on 4, 5 is mapped on 6, 6 is mapped on 7, 7 is mapped on 5. So this is going to be a candidate solution in reality when we are expecting to use artificial electric field algorithm for use of this graph matching scheme. So for this, we discretize the velocity, and it is done in a very innovative way by using an XOR operation, so that we can always get the integer values. So it is actually a bit mathematical. Those who want to learn it in detail, uh, I advise you to visit the particular article. There certain examples are given how you can understand that the discretization is done for velocity and how they are being updated. And this is how we define the addition and subtraction operation by creating this algorithm. This is one of the very novel portion of this algorithm where we redesigned and redefined the subtraction and addition operation, because whenever we are going to use the velocity and position update equation, we are going to need the addition and subtraction concepts that is defined here by using this algorithm. And then the mappings are stored in a form of an assignment matrix. And this is how from the matchings these assignment matrix are created. And this difference pi minus xi, because when you are calculating the force of attraction between two candidate solutions, the difference has to be calculated because it is involved in the formula. So those differences has been calculated by using this assignment matrix, and it has been created for these particular matchings. And these matchings, from these matchings to this matrix, this algorithm actually works behind this. Then velocity update equation, best max score, all these things are redesigned and redefined. And this is how, this is an example how this addition and subtraction are going to happen. This is the explanation how the position update happens in details. This is again a similar example. This example is also available in the article, where you can understand in reality how the positions and matchings are being updated by calculating the velocity and applying it onto the candidate solutions, which are matchings. So these were the challenges listed, which I already explained. And then there are other methods available like tensor matching, spectral matching, max pooling matching, RRWM, and BCAGM. These are the algorithms already available for the same job. So what we did when we are applying this scheme for graph matching, so to come up with a fairness, what we did, we compared what matching we have used with this. So this is how that tensor value is actually calculated. Yeah, now come to the example. These were the performance measures. Yes, CMU house data is actually the very famous data. We use this house data set to actually check the efficiency of this designed scheme and how efficiently it is working. And we also compared it with other algorithms as well. Those performance measures are one can observe from these plots against deformation noise. So these were the outputs of these matchings. You can see from the figure, this data set was stored, downloaded and uploaded, and then we extracted and identified the individual features, and then we run this designed algorithm to actually match the particular components. And this is the output of the matchings which we have found. In most of the cases, it is able to create right matching, except few exceptions. And then we took some real life images as well from Caltech 101 data set, and we tried to figure out how optimal matchings we are getting and how accurate these matchings are. So these are the matchings which we have found. These are few more examples. So these the data of these images is available in Caltech 101. They are stored, and whatever dimension they require, the given that is core function and the tensor components, they automatically choose those dimensions and move forward for providing the matching results. And this is the same teddy bear which I showed in the first slide. In one case it is original, in another case it is shifted. And this is my own image, and I compared it and this is how we got the matching. So basically, from this application, I'm not sure how much you got into the technical aspects, but this was a good application. Those who are interested how it is actually being done, I advise you to visit this article and read at length. If you face any challenge, difficulty, or any query, I'll be happy to answer. Please feel free to write me an email. So that was this artificial electric field algorithm. Before I go ahead and start with the hands-on experience of this artificial electric field algorithm, if there are any questions related to IFA, I'll be happy to answer. Or if all goes well, then we can directly go and see how this scheme is implemented on a coding platform, and we can use it.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, this is Rohit speaking from Karnataka. Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Sir, I have actually a question. The question is
Please.
like, so we have different types of nature-inspired algorithms, and
Yes.
they are based on different methodologies.
Yes.
So, like given a particular situation or a problem application, how do we decide that uh, this kind of nature-inspired algorithm is best suited for this class of problems, or it is not suited for this class of problems based on the methodology on which the nature-inspired algorithms are implemented? Like, is there any way that we can determine it?
Actually, there is no any mathematical justification and proof for that this particular algorithm is suitable for this type of problem. But yeah, statistically, there has been some observations from which one can have a bit idea. But ultimately, it's the case of experimentation. You cannot say that this algorithm is not suitable for that and this algorithm is highly suitable for this. For example, if you take PSO, so PSO, there are significant evidences that PSO has been found very much efficient on continuous optimization problems. When your variables are continuous, and then it has shown significant amount of capability to dealing those problems. And in some cases, differential evolution is highly good. So all these things are based on experimentation so far. And the main takeout from your question, if I rephrase that question, is how to choose an algorithm. When I have a problem, then how can I choose that whether I should use this algorithm or that algorithm? So it's like if you are having first you need to check the difficulty level of your problem. If it is not very much challenging, and if the deterministic schemes are very much okay to use, then I would recommend go with the deterministic techniques, which are gradient based methods, because for them we have available mathematical proof that if they are applicable to that problem, then they will for sure determine you the global optimal solution. But they have their own limitation. If the problem is challenging, if the kind of landscapes I showed you, if you try to use those problems using gradient based methods, then they will severely fail. Now it comes to the case when those schemes are failing, deterministic techniques. If they are failing, then you have to do a bit of research and exercise. You need to go into see and dig out in literature that what kind of problem I am dealing and what kind of problem in literature people have already addressed using those kind of algorithms. So you can go and check with that. If it is working for your problem well, then that is your algorithm. But if you want a one line direction way that if I have this kind of problem, then I need to use that particular algorithm. There is no fixed guideline available, because so far these algorithms do not have any uh, proof, mathematical proof that they will determine you the global optimal solution. You carry on your experiment. If it is showing you the good result, it is well in good and in favor you. Sometimes you need to tune the parameters. And the most important thing is, suppose you choose two algorithms, A and B. And sometimes people compare that A is good and B is bad. But if you suitably tune the parameters of B, you may be surprised that you will be getting the similar kind of results. So it's you how you wanted to use an algorithm, and these are algorithms which has to be used with a wise mind, and so that you can change and synchronize these algorithms according to your problem. Then they are best suitable for your problem. Otherwise, they may fail for a simple kind of problem if the parameters are not tuned properly.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the inputs.
Okay, I believe there is no more question, so I can go with that hands-on experience. So I believe you already have this particular link, or if you don't have, then simply go into the Google and write artificial electric field algorithm MATLAB code. And here you see the link will pop up. Just click it and you will find it here in the download. For downloading it, you need to make an account, means you need to sign in on the mathworks.com. Then only you will be able to download it. And from download, just download the zip version if you wanted to use standalone. And once you will download it, in the folder, you will be having these number of files. IFA, which is having the main source code of IFA algorithm, what I have explained. And then benchmark, it includes the functions, or it is the place where you can put your objective function which you would like to minimize. In the benchmark range, you need to put the lower bound and upper bounds of your design variable or decision variables. And then there is a main file which is used to call all of them. So let's open all of them and see how we can execute and run this scheme. So I'll start with the main file. In the main file, we need to initialize with certain parameters. Capital N stands here for number of charged particles, or you can say sample size or population. And max underscore IT, it stands for maximum number of iteration. F check and R equals to 1. F check and R equals to F check is used for certain conditions when MATLAB is not able to create some now real numbers from certain formulas which are used here, and it will help it to avoid any error situation. And R is equals to 1 whether you wanted to use the Euclidean distance, it in its original form or in a different form. So there is you have a choice. And then there is I have used this seeding, which is a function of a clock. In the last lecture, someone was asking that how we can avoid the same kind of population every time. So this is the way you can fix your seeding, which I have made it a function of a clock. So this is one of the way to get a more and more random number in terms of population. Then you have func underscore num, and here I have put equal to I. So this is what we are going to call which function number we are going to optimize, because in the benchmark function, we have listed all those functions, and you can just append your function if you have your own objective function and just put the indexing of that function number here. It will simply call that function and use it for minimization. And then we are simply calling this IFA function, which takes an input of function number of particles, maximum number of iteration, F check, tag is used to identify whether you are trying to maximize or minimize the problem. If tag equals to 1, then you are minimizing. If you put here 0, it will be a maximization problem. So it's not a big deal. If you are want to solve minimization problem, choose tag equals to 1, or maximization problem, choose tag equals to 0. So these are the inputs which IFA function will take. Now let me go and check with the benchmark function. If you go into the benchmark, so in the benchmark, uh, all the functions are, most of them are already coded here, benchmark functions. So for example, func number 1, it's a sphere function. Func number 2, it's another function. And in this way, several functions are defined. And if you wanted to add your own function, go to the end of the line, and here create one more script. If func underscore num equal to 24, and here write the definition of the function which you wanted to optimize. For example, if you have your own objective function, just write its mathematical expression here, and here in the main function at I equals here I, you can put 24. So I have created a loop so that I can simply change here, and or if I wanted to run all the problems sequentially, it can run. So this is the way how you can enter your own objective function and call it from the main function. So I'm removing it because so far we are happy with 23 problems. And then there is another file, benchmark underscore range. In the benchmark underscore range, for each function, objective function, just mention its numbering or indexing, and then put LB, UB, and what is the dimension. If you have your dimensions, your lower bound and upper bounds different for individual decision variables, then you can use here array in a form of array. LB equals to an array, and then put individual lower bounds values, and same for upper bounds. So it is written in a scalable form, but if your problem is not scalable, means LB, UB, they are having a different lower and upper bounds for different design variables, that can also be defined the way I explained. Like here, for example, func number 17, it's a two-dimensional problem. Here, the lower bound for the first decision variable is -5, and upper bound for the first decision variable is 10. And 0 is the lower bound for second decision variable, and 15 is the upper bound for the second decision variable. So in this way, you can have a you can code your problem if you have a different uh, upper and lower bounds for individual decision variables. So again, here just go to the end. Whatever function you have added, just mention its name, index it, provide LB, UB, and dimension, and save the file. It is ready to use. So we discussed the main file from which we are calling, and I also already showed you the place where you can write your own function and the parameters of those objective functions like lower, upper bound, and dimension. Now come to the main file of the artificial electric field algorithms. Here for help and easiness, I have already mentioned which variable what it represents. V stands velocity, A acceleration, Q charge, D dimension, N number of charged particles, X stores the position of the particles, R is the distance, LB lower bound, UB upper bound, R norm is the Euclidean norm. So R norm I have taken 2, that means it is following the Euclidean norm. So first what we would like to get, we would like to get the lower bound and upper bound and dimension of the problem. So that's why we are calling this function benchmark range, and just pass the function number inside it. It will extract LB, UB, and dimension which are ready to use. And now use these LB, UB, and dimension to generate the random population, initial random population. This is being generated in the same way as we did for PSO. And then these are the values, variables which will store the best values recorded in every iteration if we would like to see the convergence plot. Then initialize the velocity. Again, I have initialized with the 0 velocity. Then here it starts with the main looping of this artificial electric field algorithm. So it will run from first iteration to last iteration. And for this, what first we need to do, we need to evaluate the fitness value of all the initialized candidate solutions. That can be done by simply calling this benchmark and pass the candidate solution, provide the function number and the dimension. It will calculate the fitness value and store all the fitness values in the variable fitness. Now, if tag equals to 1, here the tagging is defined, which simply differentiates whether you are minimizing or maximizing. And depending on that, your best and worst values will be different, because if the case of minimization, the best will be the minimum, and in the case of maximization, the best will be the worst. So accordingly, whatever tag you have mentioned, it will naturally choose what is the best for the best and worst for the particular case. And then these lines basically keep on recording the best values. And then here, this is the arrangement where we are actually calculating the charge values from the used formula. So this is the charge value which is being calculated by the same formula I explained in the PPT, fitness minus worst divided by best minus worst. So Q will be an array which is actually having the charge values of all the candidate solutions. Then it is normalized. And then here this is the arrangement where we are calculating the force of attraction or electric field by using this formula. This is the same formula which I showed in the PPT. And then there is a place where we are calculating the Coulomb's constant. Alpha we have defined here 30 and K naught as 500. This is we have determined by using the statistically conducting experiments various times. So every time it will calculate the value of K, and it will be utilized here in the calculation of acceleration. And then charge movement, that velocity update and position update equation. And this is the arrangement done for preventing charged particles for going outside the search region. So for your help, every step there is a help tagline written to understand, and if you wanted to change anything, you can change. And this is an optional portion. If you on it, then it will show you the real-time landscape, how the movement of the charged particles are happening. Otherwise you can remove it. So that is all, and let me run it so that you can see. They have to be I think okay. Okay, this line is not unmasked. Okay, so you see, if someone wanted to see the real-time movement of the charged particles, so it is happening in this way. But if you wanted and interested in only final result, then you can mask those lines, and this feature will not pop out and you won't be able to see. So far I think I have fixed only 100 number of iterations, so it will run up to 100 iterations and then it will execute. I think it is more than 100. So let me break this loop. There is one more feature I have made it available. If you wanted to see the convergence plot, you can simply observe it, and for that simply mask this real-time movement of the charged particles and then run it again. So there are 1,000 iterations mentioned in this code. So see, we were solving a problem whose minimum value was 0. So with 1,000 iterations, we got the best optimal value, best value located 1.02 into 10 to the power minus 24. And this is the convergence plot, which is presented in a semi-loggy format. So this is the way and explanation how you can use this artificial electric field algorithm for your purpose of optimizing the function. Those who have constraints as well in their problem, we have already created a constant version of this scheme. So let me show you. Yeah. So here, when you go on my profile on MATLAB MathWorks, so you will find that IFA C. So in the IFA C, the similar code is mentioned, and but here we have made an arrangement where you can handle constants as well. So in this case, you have same kind of files, but uh, there are two additional files, violation and violation velk, which are appended here to handle the constraints. So this IFA scheme can be applied for unconstant as well as constant is problems of all the types. And if you wanted to use constant one, you just download these codes and fill your constants and objective function in the same way I explained for IFA. It is ready for use. And if it is unconstant, then IFA standalone is efficient to be used. So I hope it would be helpful for you if you wanted to use this algorithm. So if you have any queries and questions, I'm ready to answer. Or those who are running this code, if they are facing any issue, uh, feel free to ask me.
Sir, can this code be used for feature selection?
Sorry?
Can this code be used for feature selection in machine learning?
Obviously, yeah. I just missed to inform you. Just now, yesterday, we have finished it. The same code to be used on Python platform. So I think in a couple days or in a week, I shall be posting this code on GitHub, which you can install or include in the Python library for optimization point of view. Now come to your question. If you wanted to use it for feature selection, see, this is an optimization algorithm. If you can model your feature selection problem as an optimization problem, then what you need to do, you need to model your feature selection problem where there should be an objective function which you wanted to maximize or minimize. And when you are ready with that model, you can simply put that objective function to the place where I have shown you, and then it is ready to use. So far, it has nothing to do and it has no direct relation with any application. It can be used to any application if you are able to model that application as an optimization problem. All right.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Abhinav, you want to ask anything?
they have taken the celestial bodies. So more or less the architecture is same, I think.
कर दिया ना? इस पे आने भी लगेंगे तो सेशन कौन सा है अभी?
Sir, I have a question.
9, session 9.
Anupam sir?
Yes, yes, I'm listening.
Yeah. So actually, I would like to know, like, if we develop our own some new algorithm based on some concept,
Yes.
and we have developed it, and we have checked with some function, some existing algorithm like GA and PSO and some like 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then to get it published in a good journal,
Mm-hmm.
what all kind of result we should prepare, and what all kind of justification we should give that this is a stable and it's a useful design or useful algorithm which we are giving, and
It's a
which
very
further
good question.
anybody can use. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, suppose you wanted to propose your own optimization algorithm, then what are the key ingredients that has to be in the article so that a good journal can consider it? I hope this is what you wanted to know.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
So there are few things which should be in your mind before proposing a new optimization algorithm. The first thing is I'm talking about if you are looking for this stochastic or nature inspired optimization algorithm. From that perspective I'm answering. So first thing should be what inspiration you are taking from nature, or what concept. If it is not from nature inspired, then what concept you are utilizing to create an scheme, create a scheme. All right, that is an important aspect. The another thing is, do you have any justification that why one needs this algorithm? That has to be justified in a very clear way, that there should be some research gap so that the reviewers can be satisfied that yes, this was the thing which cannot be handled or addressed or not previously addressed by the existing schemes. That is one thing. And then third thing is, if you can come up with some theoretical analysis that with these conditions, the stability and convergence of this scheme is very good, then that would be a very good input, and that will give you a very strong support and base for consideration of this scheme, if you come up with any theoretical analysis and results. And finally, if
Hello.
finally when it comes to the benchmarking, then you are advised to use the latest available benchmark which is proposed, and then you need to compare it with the schemes. So like you mentioned GAPS, so if you compare it with the very first versions of genetic algorithm or PSO, then they might not be a good appropriate choice. So if you go and see IEEE CEC competitions, so there they conduct competitions, and every year very competent algorithms come into the picture and they solve those competitions. So if you use those algorithms for comparing your result, then definitely your scheme is worthy if it is doing well in comparison to their. It should not be doing well for all the problems. If for the majority of problem, if it is doing well, then I think your idea will be accepted by the journal.
So, sir, this IEEE CEC competition is having various new algorithms and various problems as well, which we should try on our novel approach which we are proposing. Is it so?
Yeah,
And
yeah. You actually, if you aim for a good journal, they will ask you to do, if you are not if you haven't done those things. So they will ask you to solve it for a very challenging benchmark and compare it with the very competent algorithms. And when I say competent algorithms, then you can look for those competitions the participant algorithms, they are actually widely acceptable.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay. Any more question?
So I just would like to know one more question, like as
Please.
whatever we are doing in this, we are not working on MATLAB, we are doing everything on Python.
Okay.
So it's like I'm like in on Python, it's like various sort of visualization, or even as you were showing step by step how it was converging. All those are like little tough. So as you are saying that you will provide all these soon in your GitHub repository. So in that, whatever you have showed in your demonstration, all those will be available in that Python as well.
I actually the main focus for developing that one so that the Python community can also utilize it. For developing that movement of charged particles, it is just a fancy feature. It has no worth if it comes to solve any problem, and
No,
it's
but
not very difficult. If it's not very difficult to implement it there. So far, I believe I have implemented for natural convergence plot, but it can be done also. I will also take into the consideration, but my main objective is to keep it very simple, and it should be used for uh, real life problems. Those are acquiring in Python community, those who are very much comfortable in Python. That is the main objective. Beautification for beautification, these kind of videos and demonstrations are just for beautification, and they also can be done in Python. I think there won't be a much problem.
thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, Anupam sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, can this algorithm be used for competitive viral marketing scenario?
I believe I already answered this question. It can be used anywhere if you can model that problem as an optimization problem.
Actually, the model says in competitive scenario that opposites attract philosophy is not there, but the person who is having similar interest or similar kind of belief or behavior, they can influence. So any other variant of this, if it exists, that can be used for this competitive scenario where different competitors are trying to influence?
Actually, few because slightly this algorithm is getting good citations. So people have developed some variants of this algorithm as well across the globe. But yeah, fundamentally it is an optimization algorithm, and uh, you need to come up with an objective function. The problem could be of any domain.
Fine, sir, fine.
Dr. Deepak, you have some question.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes,
Myself,
please.
Dr. Deepak. Sir, for optimization, can we use some kind of hybrid approaches like GA, PSOM? I think I am talking about the modified PSO with including GA. Can we use some kind of algorithms for optimization?
You can use always, but hybrids are basically just being created so that it can solve more challenging problems. So first you need to use their original forms, and in the if in the original form you are not getting the desired result, then there is no harm to go for the hybrid versions of those algorithms.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
So can we contact if we need some help in near future related to something what we are doing?
Of course, that would be my pleasure. You can email me and write to me. And if you have any query or if you want any help, if I would be able to help, that would be very much pleasurable. I'll be happy.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, I am running the program IFA.m. It is showing error at line 16.
Which line?
Line 16.
Which file you
LBUB.
are running? You need to run
So
main file.
first file, sir. I am running IFA.m. I should not run.
No, you should run the main file.
Only the main file. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
All these files are supporting files.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I think now there is no query from the participant side. Anyone else is willing to ask something from Dr. Anupam? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Anupam, for sparing the time once again with us. And definitely, it was really very interesting, the talk which we